Hello everyone, my name is Kate Marshall. The name of my channel is called Inked Paper Art, and today is day 94 of 365 days of junk journal ideas. And today I'm going to show you how to make a junk journal topper for the front cover of your junk journal. And we are going to be using all of these wonderful supplies here, lots of antique and vintage things, new things as well. So let me go ahead and give you the rundown of what I'm going to be using. Maybe you have something similar in your craft room that you want to pull out. If you're crafting along with me, you can make this junk journal topper out of many different items. I'm going to show you what I'm going to use, give you suggestions for things you can find in your craft room. But also, I want to show you different variations of this. I'm going to put one on 3 different journals here. So let's go ahead and show you what I pulled. Of course, I pulled these antique, vintage, whatever, mother of pearl buttons over here. I've got a bunch of vintage doilies and lacy things like that I've pulled that we can cut up and use. I've got some flat lace, and the flat lace is nice and wide and long, and I've got a couple different ones of that. I've got all of these in this basket are, if you saw my most recent antique live sales, you saw that I have a bunch of antique French lace samples. And so we're going to be using some of those today to decorate this junk journal topper with. And so those are in that basket. We've got our cover images printed, and I printed them with the inkjet printer. These are the digital listed in my Etsy store. And this is the lady for the front topper. Now she will have lace and collage all over her, so you will barely recognize her when we're done with her. But it's important to point out that I printed these on 32-pound paper with an inkjet printer, and then I sprayed over the top with Krylon matte finish. And this is artist grade material that you can spray over the top of anything. It makes it matte, which, it was matte already to begin with, but it's beautiful. And what that does is it protects it. It's kind of a water sealant. It makes sure that this is going to be very secure and nice because it is going on the front cover of a journal. So if it gets, if it's rainy or something, somebody's not going to have their image ruined. So anyway, that's all nice and protected and printed on nice thick paper. We're going to back that. And then we're going to use this lace down here, down the spine. One of them already has it down the spine, but we're going to put this down the spine. If you want to pull some antique documents to layer up behind your image, you can do that. Some book page would be great, rag paper. If you have any tatting is always fun to cut up and use. We're going to use seam binding. This is a giant bag of all kinds of little doily bits and pieces. Those are fun to layer up. So basically, we're going to have a focal point that's going to be backed to something very sturdy and secure. We've already coated the top of it with some protectant, and then we are going to collage it with all these lacy bits and fabric pieces that you can't even see because there was no more desk space. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, throughout the process of making this junk journal topper, I'm going to give you step-by-step instructions. So step 1 is find your focal point image, print it out, spray it with the matte finish Krylon, and I will link this down in the description box below too. It's inexpensive and it comes from Amazon, so I will link it so you can get the exact one. It is a permanent protective matte finish, so print it, coat it with the matte finish, and it's just a light coat, and I did 3 little light coats right on top of each other, giving it just about a minute to dry in between, and it was perfect. So then you cut your image out down to size. So just trim it out of whatever paper you've printed it out on. I cut it right along the edge of the image, and then I used my glue stick, and I'm using the Oohoo Magic Glue glue stick. I will also link that below. But anyway, the glue stick, you put it down on top of, this is watercolor cardstock. This is 320 GSM. It's very thick. It's about 120 or so, 170, I don't know, very thick watercolor cardstock. And so I put my image down onto that cardstock and then cut it out. And so you notice that I've already pre-prepped some things just because I want to make this as short a video as possible. So I've cut 2 of them out. So this is the step we're at right now. And then after that, you want to Okay, so I have finished trimming them. I have trimmed them down to the exact size that each panel will be. You can see already how thick and sturdy these panels are. That is what you're looking for a topper. Then we are going to give them just the lightest little inking around, and all we're trying to do is just blend in any little bit of white cardstock that will show on the side edges, just in case that it's visible. It's just a good idea to do it now. And then we were going to back this onto fabric. And so we're going to have a bigger panel than what you see right here. These images are printed to be 3.5 by 5. So they are 3.5 inches by 5 inches. And that's what I started out with. And then all I've done so far, I haven't altered the size of them. I've just backed them onto some very sturdy watercolor cardstock, inked around the edges, so inking and all of that is done. Now let's get some fabric and let's back these panels to fabric. So the fabric that I'm going to be using, sorry for the crinkling, the fabric I'm going to use is this fabric right here. It is a mattress ticking, and it is a dark blue color, a navy blue color. In my journals, you will notice that I have used that same mattress ticking fabric down the inside of the spine to reinforce it. So that's what we're going to back our panels to. Okay, so I've got a scrap of that fabric, and I want torn edges all the way around. So when you tear your fabric, you get a lovely torn edge. So we're going to go ahead and make our fabric much larger than our piece, our focal point. This is the focal point, so everything else needs to be larger underneath of it. And so I want to leave a lot of room around my piece here. And so I'm just kind of sizing it by, by looking at it, and I will give you the overall size too of this. So once we get it about where we want it, again, I want torn edges all the way around. So first thing, if you don't know how to tear fabric, not all fabric tears perfectly, but any type of fabric that you get like at the quilting department, you just take a little snip, just cut it a little snip and get it started, and then pull. Now, not all fabric tears perfectly, but if you get it at the quilting store, quilting department of, like Hobby Lobby or something like that, it will more than likely tear. A woven fabric usually tears. It's the kind of silky ones and stuff like that that doesn't tear, in my opinion. So anyway, we're going to leave this pretty generously sized, and I'm going to leave it a lot longer than we need. And let's go ahead and tear that. And so we're just going to continue tearing because I want a torn edge all the way around. And you notice I just pick up my piece and move it and tear it again until we have a panel that looks something like this. Now, obviously this is still too big, but I need to look at it and I need to see, because we want some fabric sticking out of the top. We want some fabric generously sticking out of the bottom, and we want some fabric on both sides. And because this is a striped fabric, you want to make sure that if you have 2 blue stripes over here, that you leave yourself 2 blue stripes over there. So I am going to remove just a little bit of this, get all of these perfect and done, and I will come right back. And so I've got all 3 of my panels of fabric done. They all have the torn edge around them. I'm not going to worry about fraying the edge just yet. I'm going to wait and fray the edge of the fabric a little more at the very end when I know how much fabric I want to shred or fret. So anyway, next step, we're going to take these ladies and we're going to decide now, do you want to sew around the lady? Do you want to put a sewn border around the focal point? If you want to sew now, my advice would be to put a tiny little bit of glue, such as the Fabri-Tac adhesive from Beacon. Put a little bit of it, just a small amount, in the center of your back panel. That just holds it in place so that you can sew around the edge. So if you want to sew, do it now, because after this, it would be too hard, too fluffy. You'd be sewing through all of your lace trim. So anyway, I'm going to do a sewn border around them, I believe. I may do some and I may do none. I don't know yet. You guys will find out with me in about 2 seconds. So I have opted to sew around mine. So I've just done a little tiny little border all the way around and, left the little strings laying there. So I've sewn around all three of them. I'm going to pick them up for just a moment and we're going to talk about layering. So we are going to work with one panel today and I'm going to finish the other two and we'll show you them at the end. But we're going to talk about layering lace up. There's a bunch of different things you can use. This is what's considered flat lace. So it's just, flat lace. It comes in a bunch of different kinds. This is also flat lace. And so you need to pick out some things that you like layered with your image. So you can layer lace underneath behind your fabric. You could layer lace on top of your fabric if you want. It just is whatever image, whatever kind of look that you're going for. I definitely want to see my blue ticking fabric. That's why I chose it. But other things that you can use, so there's flat lace, there's regular lace, which we're definitely going to use some of this gold lace going across the bottom possibly, and then put our focal point on top of it. But before we get to this part where we're using this small lace, we want to talk about larger things to layer underneath of our panels. And so one of the things I like to use is this is cheesecloth that I have coffee dyed. It's just coffee dyed cheesecloth. It's a very large section of it and it looks great layered underneath images. So we could, ruffle it up, crinkle it up, and layer it underneath our image on our fabric. So it just adds a nice warmth. You don't want everything to be stark white, at least not for this journal. It doesn't look good stark white. Let me pull out one of the covers, this one here, and this is kind of what we're looking at. Obviously our focal point is just a little big right now. We will trim that down, but you want to add some of this warmth back into the cover. It's very stark the way it is. We've got this gold, kind of coffee dyed looking seam binding closure here. And so we're working with this color palette. Another thing that you could add for your layers is bits of doily. Just snip off a section of this where you've got this ruffly little trim, and that would go, just you have to use your imagination, but that would go kind of down at the bottom. It's getting caught on there. Go down at the bottom and it would drape down and we would cut off a section of that. So it could be doily. I will definitely cut up one of these and use it. But you've got to play with your image and you're going to play with it for a little while here. It's not a quick process, but just keep playing and playing until you find what you're looking for. Maybe you want to put like a large doily that's like that and put it underneath, That's definitely a nice look. It looks beautiful. It goes with the color of this, so we might do that. Here's one that's made out of tatting, so you could do some tatting dangling down. You save this tatting that's under here I'm not saying to cover that up and just waste it. You could cut it out and save it and then have some tatting hanging down. So it would look something like that. That would be good too. Just all different kinds of things to play with. So I'm going to play with a couple more here just to kind of give you guys an idea of the look of it. And then go in your craft room, rummage through your vintage linens. If you don't have any vintage linens, there's always doily packs that have all of these kind of lacy bits and stuff to play with, stuff like this, listed in my Etsy store. They're always in there. They're a staple in my Etsy store. Also, all of the lace is listed in my Etsy store, as well as you can check out other Etsy sellers for different things. We sell the vintage linen packs in my live sales a lot. I really like the way this lace, it's kind of pointed. And so I think we could get a couple of points to hang out down here at the bottom. We'll trim away the rest of that and then kind of get something that looks like that. So I really like this, but vintage doily packs, large and small, I sell them in the live sales too, but you got to find the right one that works for this project. Like right here, this is half of a doily that, somebody, either I or somebody else, I don't honestly know because it just is in my bin, has already claimed some of. So this is exactly the kind of, cutting your vintage linens so that you can use just a piece of it, right? So you can see if this was trimmed off, how that would look. But any smaller one like this too, that looks good. I like the other ones that we've tried better, but layering lace behind this panel also helps it. So this is kind of a longer process that you're going to have to go in your craft room and find what you like and pick it out and use it. So if this fabric panel was a little smaller, you could peek some lace down here out the side. Just imagine that this lace is just kind of peeking out the side, and then you could put like a doily on there. So it's basically collaging with vintage linens. But we're going to layer up a ton of lace by the time we're done, and I'm going to do it. You're going to see it live. Right now I'm just giving you ideas, and then we are going to pause this video while I get mine all laid out and planned out, and then we're going to come back and I'm going to show you all of it and why I chose certain things for certain places. And so you could have some lace peeking out the side over here, some lace peeking out the bottom, a doily behind her. It's all a little too big, but you get the idea. You get what I'm looking at right there, okay? So let me get these laid out, planned out, so that I don't have to audition things for too long with you guys. I will come back. I will show you a little bit more auditioning and then the final selection, and then we'll assemble it. So I'm going to dig in my antique French lace basket over here. I'm trying to get it on camera where you guys can see it. I'm going to dig in there. This is where I've kind of gotten my idea so far. So this is a process of layering, and right now I'm just showing you a bunch of different ideas. We will assemble it all at the end here in just a few seconds. So anyway, this is where I'm at. I've cut a little piece of that copy dyed cheesecloth right here, and it's just, you know, just a piece of cheesecloth, and I'm just going to lay that on. That's going to be my first layer. At least this is the planning stage right now. Then I've got my little piece of mattress ticking fabric, and so there's that. There's the lady, the focal point. I've cut one of those doilies that I just showed you guys. I went ahead and cut it, and I'm going to have that underneath, and it's going to come where the longer point is on the left side. Usually things look better when the long side, the tall side, whatever, is on the left. Just think about how you arrange things for home decor. You usually put the taller candlestick on the left side. So we're going to do that here. You're going to have to position that and play with that a little bit. But once we've got all three of our layers showing there, we'll put her there, something like that. We're going to have this gold lace coming across the bottom, and I don't really want to see this little scallopy border. It's cute and all. You could definitely leave it up there if you wanted, but I think maybe it looks better where it's just peeking out from the bottom. So we'll have that peeking out. We'll adjust this and pull this down so we can see it more. So you want to see all of your layers. That's the whole point of having the layer there in the first place, right? So we're going to have something that looks like this, and this is just our base layer of layering. We're going to layer up the whole thing by the time we are done, okay? So let's dig in this lace basket just because it's fun. It's stuff that I haven't even really seen yet either. There's a bunch of things like this in here. They're little like applique kind of trims, and that would be kind of cute. So we've got this layer going here. That would be kind of cute to go either around the whole border of this, if you had enough of it, to go around the whole border of your image. That would have been really cute to go across the bottom here too. So look in your trims and see what you have. And of course, if you guys attended the most recent live sale, you were able to purchase, you had the option to purchase a bunch of these French lace samples for yourself too. So this one would have been good for layering underneath everything. It's a nice wide piece. And then you've got things that look like this where they're a little bit more sheer with some lace at the bottom. So if you were making a pocket, that would be good to go across the bottom for a little sheer pocket with the lace trim at the bottom. That would be cute. We've got pieces that can go like down the spine of a journal. That would be cute down the spine. What else is in here? You've got little applique things like this. Again, that would be nice to break up that border across the bottom. That would be super cute. That's an option. Stuff like this too. Just little trims that go across the bottom. Here's one that if we weren't using that gold lace underneath there, you could place something longer like this, kind of coming out the edge. You want to make sure that your lace covers the whole panel. So you need a piece big enough to cover the whole panel from side to side. Don't just cover just underneath your focal point. Bring it out and cover all the way over to the mattress ticking fabric. Okay, so let's look at some of the ones that I did kind of pre-pull, and I am still digging in here because there is just a ton of things in here. and it's impossible to see them all when they're all crumpled up like that. But something like this where it's got a little bit of, I don't know if you guys can see, it's like a sheer, but it's also frayed down here at the bottom. That would be super cute down there across the bottom. I'm trying to use that gold because I like the color of it. It's matching all the gold in the picture of this little antique French lady portrait. What else do we have? I don't know. There's a ton of things in there. There's some little appliques too, and depending on the size of the applique, you could definitely get an applique, not this one particularly, but you could definitely get an applique over here in the corner. Here's a couple more pieces of lace, just, to give you guys ideas of the look. And we do, you could put lace across the top here too. If you layered enough at the bottom so that it was balanced, you could put some lace across the top. I really like this little trim, and I think this is the one that we are going to put across the very bottom of the focal point, across the very bottom of our little card here. That'll be great, but we need to layer up a couple more down there. I've got this one too, and I love how you can still see this gold lace peeking out. That's very, very frilly and pretty. I love that one. Hard to decide. And there's also this one here that would come across the bottom. You'd want to position it so when you're doing yours, see how this one, it's a lace sample that's already cut on this edge, but see how it's not cut to where you'll get a center point, it's off-centered. See, this point right here is off-centered. If we do use something like this, you want to position it to where it is centered, it is even. So now we got 2 points. You could put 1 point in the center, but I think 2 points would be great right there. So lots of options. We've got some more tatting down here, and this is just a long strip of tatting that I took off of what is the world's largest piece of tatting, probably. It's a tatted bed cover, and it covers a queen size bed, and it's all tatted. So we've got some tatting that we can put up in there. I think we'll just snip off a piece and tuck some up here at the corner probably. Let's go ahead and get this layered to this point, and then I will come back and we will start layering up the top bits, okay? So I've cleared myself off a space to work. We're going to start out by using the Fabri-Tac. That's the glue I'm going to use to build this topper at this point. And so we're going to start with our bottom layer. And whatever you choose for your bottom layer, it doesn't really matter. Just make sure that, you've got it positioned kind of where you want it. And so we're going to start building from the very back piece forward. And all I want to do at this point is tack things together. So I'm just going to add a small amount, and I'm going to smooth out that Fabri-Tac on the back. I don't want it to be too gloppy at this stage. So I'm just going to tack it together by adding a little tiny bit back there. And we're just going to lay this here. But before we lay it, we're going to ruffle some stuff up under there. We're going to crinkle, work it so that it looks good to your eye. We're going to crinkle some of that back there. And that's probably good for now. And so now I'm just smoothing out that glue back there. And you notice I covered my workspace with the parchment paper. Okay, so that was the first layer, was putting something behind our mattress ticking. The second layer is this guy here. And remember, we want the taller part, the part that hangs longer, on the left side. And we're going to play with that position for just a minute. You can try out your lady. We want to keep it dangling pretty far down there. It's going to look too far at the beginning stage of this, but eventually when we layer everything up, it's not going to be down there too far. So that looks about good. And right now, again, we're just, we're smoothing out our glue as we go. We're not leaving any thick, heavy glue. And we're just going to go ahead and get some Fabri-Tac across the top of this. And just smooth out your glue. No big, long glue strings or anything like that. Tack that in there. If we need to tack up here, we'll go ahead and do that. And then you can tack along the side. Thin little bits of Fabri-Tac. Not too much. Don't go overboard. You can glue right on your doily where there is thicker pieces. So the doily is thicker in some spots. You don't want to glue the whole thing down. You want to leave it to where it is a little floppy and fringy because it's lace and it's supposed to be, textured. You're supposed to be able to feel it, right? It's supposed to be floppy. Don't glue every single little bit of it all the way down. So we're looking good there. We're Yep, we're good. Absolutely love it. Good. So then we have these little trims over here and we have this gold one. I know that I want to get the gold one on there, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this piece of gold lace to the size roughly of my I'm sizing everything to this mattress ticking. That's the actual topper. This little light thin thing, it's see-through, it's just going underneath. And in fact, we will trim some of this and rough cut it before we apply our topper to our journal. In this video, we're going to go all the way through until this piece is glued to the front of a journal. So this is the piece of gold lace I've got. I'm just looking to make sure that I am happy with, you know, the placement of it. If I need to cut it so that we get more, you know, more flowers or anything like that. Let me just look and see. I think I would prefer to have 4 even flowers. So I should have thought about that just a second ago, but that's pretty good looking there. And it goes all the way from edge to edge of our mattress ticking. So we can position that where we think we're going to want it. I'm keeping her pretty high up there. And then we're going to bring this gold lace right at the bottom of her. Okay, that looks good. And then I'm just going to peel back. I'm holding it with my thumb and just peeling back. And I am going to add a line of glue here, but I am going to smooth it. I'm not going to leave any little, no bubbles of glue, just smoothing it out, lightly tacking everything at this stage. And then we're going to move that back down and tack that in. Now, if you have a silicone spatula handy, which I do, that's going to aid in your, I had to reach behind me and get it. That's going to aid in applying your glue without getting it all over your fingers. So a silicone spatula, you can get glue all over it and the glue will just peel off of this when you're done. So that's tacked. I'm going to add just a little bit underneath a couple of these flowers here in the center. And that's just going to help aid it. There we go. And so now we've got our lady. She looks like this. We're doing great. We're doing very good. Okay, so you want to make sure when you add a line of lace that that line of lace is straight. There's nothing worse than getting done with your project and realizing that all of your lace goes to one side. So I just adjusted the corner of this lace right over here so that it was straight. We're looking good. And now we're going to add some more trim because this is going to be all layered up by the time we're done. And I don't remember if I showed you guys this one, but I really am liking the delicateness of this one. Maybe this one needs to go up here at the top and hang down. Not sure. We are going to add lace every little wear we can. So every little wear, that's what I just said. And so we've got this one and I can't stop thinking about it, but I do love these big ones too. So I'm just going to audition them one last time. I think we're going to go with this one. It just seems to work and I like the way that the points are, you know, coming straight evenly across right there. I don't know if I'll add this one at the top or what I will do. You can do all different lace all the way around. I think we should put something peeking out over here on the side. I'm not sure what yet, but I think we should put something peeking out over there on the side. I mean, we could even put this one peeking out on the side. Let's see how that would look. So if you do something like that, you're going to go the full length of your mattress ticking fabric again. Putting that right there and see it kind of gets a little bit choppy right in there. You might need to go and tack it under that if you're going to do it with the gold on top. Let's go ahead and add one down the side. So I'm going to choose a lace and I'll be right back. Okay, so I went and grabbed some more laces and stuff for us to play with, and I'm going to quickly show you more options. Again, you guys said you like the process, and I'm giving you guys ideas. Hopefully I'm giving you guys ideas of things that you can, you know, get, find, whatever in your craft room and use also. So we need to audition a couple more laces. I didn't like this tiny little one down the side. I do like this bigger one across the bottom. Now, one of these ones is typically what I would like to put underneath here. Tacked that down. Yep, there we go. So we need to be able to get the lace underneath your focal point. Just peeling it back just a little bit. Underneath your focal point, and it needs to go the full length of your mattress ticking again. So you've got to play with it a little bit. It's not wanting to cooperate. Everything at some point just starts sticking together. So we're going to put this tucked back there pretty far so that we can still see the points coming out. There we go. I like that. That's pretty good. It's straight. Then this lady would go here. I like that one a lot. I like these points coming out and they match the color of this doily down here. So before we go any further, let me go ahead, and I don't know where exactly I want that to stop yet. So I'm going to snip it and leave it long. Obviously, we'll probably stop it right here. I just don't know if I want that last little point right there. Let's just cut it and hope that it's okay. So we've cut that one. That's going to stick out right there. I'm really happy with that. And then I still want this one across the bottom, so I'm just going to set it here for now. I've got a couple little snippets that are fun to play with now. And then I brought in a couple other options for us. So this is a fun lace, and it is meant to go around the whole edge of your focal point. So you would line it up and go around and cut and snip so that it went around the whole entire focal point and it just framed it. So that is another option, that you would just go all the way around your focal point and frame it. And I like this option, and I think maybe we should try doing it. It's a fun little lace. So that would go all the way around on all four sides. So that's a fun option. We also have some little applique lace that looks like this. And these are fun to either use all together or to snip out and do like a little corner decoration going across the top corner. And so if you just used the three of them across the top, that would be good. I brought another lace that, you could layer more laces down here with this gold. You could continue to layer and layer until your little heart is so happy, right? You could just layer. I can't even say layer anymore. But you've got so many different options, right? And we didn't look at this one yet. This guy is another one that would be fun to put all the way around the edge of your little lace piece or your little focal point here. This is a fun one to put all the way around the edge. So you'd go all the way around and have that one hanging out. And that one's really pretty, but I do like the other one better. I like this little guy better. And he has these little pieces that dangle. These little they look like sticks that dangle down at the bottom, little tassels, whatever. I like that one better. So if we do one all the way around, I think we will do that one. But this is another one where you could put it up here in the corner and just go across with three little pieces of it. And I think we're looking at doing something like that at the end, and it may end up being on this corner. Not really sure yet. We'll have to see how it looks on the journal. And then this one here is a dangly lace. And again, it could have went down the edge here. You could layer it up and do two coming down the edge there if you really wanted. So you've got, both of those. That looks pretty nice. Let's see if we really do want to do that. The gold one is going to cover where we end right here with everything. So that's perfect. I don't know, guys. I like that. I like that a lot. So if you're going to do a point lace here, so there's the first layer. If you're going to do two pointed laces, this is pointed and this is pointed, you want to make sure that you have the points offsetting so that there is a point with no point at the top and a point in the middle. So see the 2 points here? This one needs to go in the middle. So make sure that if you do 2 points together, that they are offset. So that's what we would do there. It's pretty. I like it. We may be doing it. And I brought more, still more. This one is a little scallop border that you could go around the whole entire thing with this little scallop. It's super cute. So let's go ahead and build this. So let's do some edge lace. Before I commit to putting both of these on, I want to see how it would look on the journal. So this is the journal cover, and I'm just going to pick this whole thing up, holding all of that together, and see how it would look. Ooh, I do like the double lace. I do. Let's do it. Okay, so we're at that stage where we can add the side lace. See what I mean about it taking a long time? Trust me, it's worth it in the end to take your time and do this right. So first things first, we're going to get this pointed lace, the longer pointed one, the one that sticks out further. We're going to get this one put on. Lace has a front and a back. Sometimes you cannot tell. If you can't tell, then it doesn't matter. But if you look at it, you should see a smoother, better finished, side versus a rougher, scratchier side. The smoother side is the side that faces up on lace. It's not always simple. It's not always easy to tell. So, you're just going to do the best you can. And ultimately, if you can't tell if a lace is backwards, then no one else is going to be able to tell either. So don't worry about it. If you can't tell, you can't tell. And I'm smoothing out that bead of lace again. Or that bead of glue. I don't want anything super, super gluey. I don't want it big gobs. So I've smoothed that out as best as I can. I am going to apply my wide lace, and I'm just going to go the of length of my mattress ticking fabric. And so let's use this spatula and get that stuck in there, keeping it straight as we go. And that's sticking out pretty far. I hope that I did not stick it out too far, but we have one more lace to apply on top of it. So I need that guy to stay stuck back there. Let's do another bead of glue, gluing all of these together. And then we're going to smooth out that bead as well, because I don't want any chunky glue. So I'm just using the edge of the glue bottle to smooth out that bead that I applied. No chunky glue. And with this one, you're going to have to come a little bit forward closer to the edge and add a little bit of additional glue, just because you've got double layer lace. And so we agreed on sticking what out? What were we going to stick out there? Was it the white one? What were we going to stick out there? Now I forget. We were going to stick something out the side. I think it was this one. No, it was the dangly one. That's correct. It was the dangly one. So it's this one. I couldn't see it. It was hiding. So we're going to stick this one on, and we want to make sure again that it is offset. So the points are lining up where the points need to line up. There we go. So I've got a point here and then a point offset from there. And I'm getting glue. Get that guy on. So now we have all of our foundation lace on. I am not going to add any more foundation lace other than what we've already talked about. And then I'm going to take this pair of scissors and cut this guy off. And I'm leaving everything ending right where that gold lace is ending, but I'm not going to leave it cut straight. I'm going to cut it at an angle there. Perfect. And we've got a little snippet to play with. So there's that part. I'm very happy with the way that looks. Now let's talk about this. Let's talk about this bottom part here. So we've got her still looking great. You can still see the mattress ticking blue through there. I love it. Looking so good. We're going to do this one. Did we want to stick anything else on there, or were we just going to do that? I think maybe we're just going to do that. I don't know. I do like this white one coming under there. I think we're going to do that. Why not? Why not just keep layering and layering until it's so heavy with lace? It's a topper, and it's a very frilly topper for our French journal. So we're going to add this white one next. Now we're going to start going over on top of our focal point though. So we're going to have to glue that focal point down, and we're going to start going on top of that focal point, because you don't want to see the hard edge of this cardstock there at the bottom. And so we're going to end up with something that looks like that. I'm going to need to trim off this little corner, and I'm going to trim around the flower. So I'm going to try to leave that one flower there. We'll have to see how it looks, but rather than having a straight edge, I've just trimmed it to where the little point is there. I kind of like the little point. That was happy. So let's do that on the other side as well. So we're building a big frilly lacy journal topper. And lacy journal toppers like this, you can just, if this is your thing and you love all of this, you can build these and sell just these, just the toppers in Etsy. You can just make toppers if that's what you want to make. And I did want to show you this too. I brought in this big applique, and I know it is very large, but this is basically So this is part of a pair that would go on a collar. There's a left facing and a right facing one in the pair. The way that I would use something like this is up here in the top corner, and it would go underneath my focal point. So I would kind of tuck it around like that. You could leave that tail coming around the top, but you can just continue to build and build and build until your heart is just so happy, right? And so you can see it can go either direction. You can cover up more of that harsh edge with appliques. We may end up doing something like that. But remember, on our covers, we do have that beaded lace that pokes out. So it can only fit what we can fit on there. But for now, let's keep working with it the way it is and get these bottom ones down. And to do that, we need to glue her. So at this point, you're going to make sure that she's not curling, because I just made this live with you guys, or basically live with you guys. So I want to make sure she's not curling, and I'm going to attach her with Fabri-Tac. Now I know we are gluing onto paper, but we're gluing this paper to fabric, and that is why you want to use Fabri-Tac. And the first place that I put that Fabri-Tac is over top of where I sewed on my sewing machine all the way around her. That's the first place I put my Fabri-Tac, and then I work it, into the center from that stitching. And so don't put too much glue, don't go crazy. Make sure that you're smoothing out your glue as you go. And again, I'm just using that glue nozzle to smooth and to apply ever so slightly. I don't want too much. The more glue that you add here, you can get a really bumpy cover piece that's not attractive. So when you over glue a cover piece, sometimes it becomes too three-dimensional. If you think about the way in card making and scrapbooking we use those foam dots or foam squares, you don't really want your topper to become super three-dimensional. So we're going to go here with her, and once she's down, she's down. So make sure we get her where we want her, where she's covering the top portion of that gold lace. And I know we still need to tack that gold lace, but for now we're good. And just make sure she's straight. There we go. And we're just going to touch her down for a few minutes and let her get acquainted to her new home, her permanent home. There we go. And squish her in there. We're squishing that glue into the fabric, and it does take just a minute for that to become sticky. Right now it's just wet, and in a moment it will be sticky. So looking great. Love that. Let's go ahead and get that lace across the bottom. And so we're going to do this across the bottom down here. Perfect. So now we can apply glue on the front of her, and that's what's going to hold the lace that we're applying. And I'm going to apply just a little bit down at the bottom down here as well. And then our white lace does have a front and a back, and we're going to apply it right there, making sure that it is stuck and that it is straight. And that's where the spatula, any kind of silicone looking spatula, will work for this. That's where it really comes in handy, though, is you don't got to get your fingers all gluey. Okay, for the next one, we're going to apply it as well, and we're just going to add a little bit more glue on top because we do have a little bit of glue still left over. And so I'm just going to go and dot across here, just dots. There we go. And then we're going to stick that one on right there, and see how my points here are in the middle of these points down here. Nothing is point on point. It is always point. Being on point on this project is bad. It's always offset. Okay, so we're just kind of pressing that down. If you got a little bit too much glue on your image, we've coated our image, so it's not a big deal. It will wipe right off. Another bonus of coating your image. And I will remember to link that in the description box, the spray matte sealant. So there's that. It's looking really good. You could call it done right there. Let's see how she looks on our journal cover. And so we've got our journal cover. I don't want any glue to get on my journal cover. And let's see what we've got. We've got this gorgeousness. It's so very pretty. I love it. Now we're not done though. We have to add a couple more little elements up here at the top half. And the reason why is because it's very bottom heavy, right? It's very unevenly weighted. We need a little bit of weight up here at the top, a little bit of interest at the top. We've got a lot of interest here. We've got a lot of interest here. I love the little ties with this little coffee dyed cheesecloth. It was everything. And the way that it just hangs out, it's everything. It's perfect. It adds that warmth all the way around. Love it. So let's talk about up here now. I don't. We're gonna try to leave the journal here without getting glue on it. We're gonna add some of these little guys up here at the top, and they're just gonna come over this corner, I believe. So this particular journal already has this big beaded lace element on the front of it, and it looks like this on the back. And it's big beaded actual glass bead lace, and it's all stuck down. Normally I would have done my topper before I added that side lace, but in the video that I was making this journal, we needed to do that. So it's on, and I'm not going to worry about it. It's just going to go right over top like this, and it is absolutely no problem. On the future journals, they do not have lace. So I'm building 3 journals at a time. These guys, I will put this beaded lace on after I put my topper on so that I can interweave those laces together. This guy already has it on, so we're just working with what we have. And now we're going to add this lace in the corner. So we have this guy here, and he's going to go across the corner here, or you could do across the corner out here on the outside. On the other journals, when this point comes in, it may look better to do it on this side, but I'm usually a left side person. So I think we're going to add that there, and just 3 of them. I'm just going to snip the string in between 3 little pieces. But before I commit to doing that, we also have to look at this one here. And this one has a front and a back also. And it's like this. And we might do those 3. I kind of like the leafiness of those 3 better. And so I wish you guys could see, because I am literally surrounded by lace on all sides. It's a very fun work day today. And so I think we can do these 3 across the top, but you see how we have this open little corner right here. Now you could roll your fabric down. I'm not going to do that. It's just doing it naturally, but we need to fill in something right here in this corner, and we need a little more embellishment out here at the bottom. So let's go ahead and get some of those tiny little doily pieces and stick those on. All right, so this is the bag of little doily bits. And so in my Etsy, I sell the bigger packs of doily bits where it's less small pieces. These are the very, very tiny pieces. And so these are great. I save a lot of the tiny little bits that, you get some of them in the pack in Etsy, but mostly it's bigger doilies. It's, pieces that are like this or bigger even. But anyway, tiny little bits. These are great for layering on top of each other and creating little flowers. And they do come in different colors. I don't know how much you guys can see, but they come in different colors. So I pulled out the bag of little doily bits, and I was playing with a couple of things. I was looking at putting some of these up here in this corner, and that's fine. It would be all right. I'm not sure that that's where I want to leave it. I think I want to do a little bit more. I also was looking at putting a couple of them, layering. These come in different shades, and that's important because when you're layering doilies on top of each other, you want to be able to see the different doilies. So I think this is a little too big for what I'm looking at. But these are, just layering them and making little doily flowers out of them. I'm trying to hold the cover so that you guys can see it. But something like that to add weight down in the bottom right and up in the top left. And I do really like this. However, I think I can do maybe a little bit more. So this is one option. I like that a lot, but let's see what else we can do. So that was these pieces layered on top of each other to make little flower. Let's see about adding a little bit of color. I was looking in my trim thing, and I found this little scrap of trim, and I was trying to see if we liked it tucked underneath of all of this down here. And basically we really have to tuck it in there. But if we tucked that in, we would add a little bit of color down here at the bottom where it's peeking out just a little bit more of that Frenchy blue color. And so I do really like it. It's the same blue that's in her dress, and it is the same blue that's in our color of our cover, but you know, the cover is a different different it changes colors depending on the lighting, okay? So I like the blue there, and then I had another little tiny scrap, and I was thinking about layering. This one is super cute. It's blingy, very blingy. It kind of matches the bling down here in these ones. And so if you put this up here in the corner, I like it. Um, I looked at putting different little flowers up there, like we could still add these, but when you do the bling, I think their crochet bits are a little bit, um, you know, they're just different looking with the bling. So let's see if we layer both of these up together up here. It's a little heavy in the corner. It's kind of over her head and it's a little heavy. We have to play with that a little bit and get the flowers to go right in between those scallops there. We can trim off a little bit of the edge over here. I think that looks better. And then I have these two little doilies, and I was thinking about adding them kind of offset down here. So it's not quite as heavy, but they're just a little offset. So one, the bigger one up higher, and then the little one, you know, a little lower, just offsetting those there. And that kind of balances the corner. But then I was thinking also, I have this long applique. And this long applique has a big flower at the top, and then it has these trailing flowers that go down. And I really would like to cut it and add part of it to where that top flower is there, and some of those trailing flowers go down the side. So let's think about if we put that there, we would want our trailing flowers to maybe end right here-ish, wherever my scissors are. Let's cut that. We're almost done, guys. We're just doing the finishing touches now. We've done all of our layering. We're thinking about adding a little color in, little decorations here. And then we're going to look at this going across the top. And this is what happens when you build it on your journal, is everything slides off. And so better to build it on a flat surface. But so this would kind of trail down the side down here. And again, we're going to cut off that little bit of extra trim there. And I really think I like that. I think it balances very nicely. So I think we're going to look at doing that. Now we could add a little doily or something underneath this flower to help it pop out too if we needed. Let's go ahead and do some trimming and get some things on. I'm going to leave that blue one just tucked there for now because we're not quite sure exactly what we're doing. But I'm going to go ahead and snip off some of this blue. I was going to cut it. Yeah, I am going to cut it. I'm going to snip it off right about there. So I've just kind of snipped it at an angle, and let's see how that will look. And then this is the little white one that we're going to do on top of it. And you know, I could cut that down and just do 2 flowers too. And I think we might be looking at doing just 2 flowers. Let's see. If we do that there, it's a little heavy. Let's change it to 2 flowers. See what it looks like with 2 flowers. 2 flowers is nice. I like that. And then here's our little applique, and we need to cut it. And we said it was going to get cut about here. I think we already did cut one. I don't know where that one, oh, it's right there. But we cut 2 now. Okay, so we're going to do that one going down right there, and I like it. Let's go ahead and glue it. The blue one I'm just going to leave there for just a few seconds. And then do we want to put something underneath of this flower to bulk it up? I think perhaps we do. And let's add the one that's warmer. So we had a little tiny, this guy. We had this guy, and he's a warmer shade. And so let's layer those up like that. Put that right up in there. We'll have all that blingy stuff sticking out. I love it. Very cute. Let's do it. So now we can move it off the journal because we're going to use glue, and we don't want to get glue on our journal. So we're going to move it off. And now we're going to take this baby wipe and wipe off our glue bubble. And we're going to continue. Finishing touches, final touches. And so I'm just going to go ahead and glue a little up that corner there. I'll get a little off to the fabric just to tack it there. Okay. And then we're going to add that little beaded trim first, right through there. That fabric keeps curling up on me. And making sure when we're doing like a beaded and a sheer that we're really getting it in there. And then for the back of this one, I'm just going to add it to the flowers because I want those little petals to still be able to move. Don't need much glue, just enough to tack it. And then glue strings. And that guy's going there. And I moved it up pretty high. I need to pull it down just a smidge. Just a smidge. There we go. It's coming. It's stuck on that fabric back there. Perfect. I don't want it to roll, but I do want it to scoot down. Okay, now let's get that flower up there. That one just wants to keep curling, so I'm going to fold it to the back for just a minute while I stick that on. Very nice. Okay, so this guy is going right there, and I just need to make sure that we're going to like this, but I think we are, so we're going to stick it. And we're going to glue the back of it. It might also be the front, don't really know. And we're going to glue that guy right there in the corner, making sure our fabric isn't folded. I don't mind if it curls a little, it looks a little more vintage and whatever, curly, but I don't want it to curl over and get underneath of what I'm trying to glue. And then again, I'm adding glue right to the little petals. And this guy, we're going to have to add glue all the way down. We can go halfway and then come from the other side. And we're going to stick it right there in the center and then come down with it. Now, once we've got this part glued in there pretty well, you can come back later if you choose to add like a pearl or some kind of dangle. I think a little vintage rhinestone earring with a safety pin would look awesome tucked in there. So we will do a little more down here too, and we could do something up here. And then I want to add all of the glue down here, making sure we're stuck there with the blue part. And then we're going to add glue to the back side of our applique. So anytime you're using an applique, it's just best to hit the high points of it, meaning the parts that have a thick fabric-y feel to them. And so this one is getting stuck down there. I love it. It's so cute. I love the little trailing flowers. It was exactly what that corner of our topper needed. And then we're going to glue these down. And for these, I do want them to be floppy. So we're just going to hit the big high point here in the center. And that one's going right there. And I love how it's floppy and bent. And that's just from being in that Ziploc bag. The Ziploc bag, I just keep all the little offcuts, you know, when you cut up a big tablecloth or whatever, it's always got these little connector pieces. And most of the time, you know, people don't want a whole bag of connector pieces when they purchase something on Etsy. So I put some connector pieces because they are fun to play with, as you guys are seeing right now. But I keep some because there's just too many of them. You know, nobody wants a whole bag. So right now, this is where we're at. That blue piece is falling out, but we are going to tuck that up in there. Get those to stick for a second. And then honestly, I'm thinking about cutting it, but I am going to cut it a little bit. I'm going to cut out these two scallops here in the top, just the middle part, and that's because I want it to tuck under here as much as it can, but I need the scallops at the end for decoration. Yep, that'll work just fine. I didn't want to cover up too much of this crochet part that we have down here. So there we go. We're going to flip that back and add our glue in here. And again, I'm swirling out that glue in, making sure that I don't get a big old glob of it. And we've all but covered up that gold lace, but you can see just the perfect amount of it. Just the perfect amount there. Cutting out those two scallops in the center was crucial. I can just barely see that gold poking out there. I'm going to give it a little tug and poke it out just a little bit more as this glue is getting in there. And I don't want to see a ton of the blue. I do want to see some of my rhinestones. So I'm going to pull that down just a little bit too. And you can still see the gold. There we go. I'm going to pull it just a little more. I want to see the rhinestones. So there we go. We've got it, and it's straight. Yes, it is. Kind of, sort of. It's straight. We've got everything glued on there, guys, and that is our topper, except for little metal bits, charms, beads, you know, pearls, whatever else you want to sew on there. But it is a free floating topper, meaning you're going to take glue and glue this entire panel to your piece. Don't glue edge to edge. Do not glue all the way around it. Glue center only, because you do want it to still be floppy and move on your cover. So this is how it looks right now. And the couple little bits that I would add, first of all, is I would keep this lace a little bit straighter than it is. You can move it still. It's all good. But I would add a little safety pin, like a rusty safety pin, maybe a vintage rhinestone earring, like I talked about, because you do have little rhinestones. I don't know how much you guys can see, but there are little rhinestones here, little rhinestones in here, kind of tucked in. You still got that gold back there, which is just barely peeking underneath when you look at it in real life. And then you've got all this floppy lace to the side. So if I make sure there's no glue on this, this is the way it's going to work. We've got our journal. I'm going to hold it down on this side so you guys can see. This topper is going right on top of this beaded one here, because unfortunately that is already on there. You're just going to position it where you can see your journal around your journal cover, around all three sides, or four if you don't have your lace on back here. It doesn't impact any of our closure over here. We're not going to glue it over top of our closure. We're going to leave it loose all down this side. All of this part here is loose. You're only adding glue in the center part here, making sure that it's secure, but you want this to be floppy. That's kind of the idea of having laces, that it's fabricy and textural. So there's that. That's what it's going to look like. It's going to get glued right on the cover there. We're going to add a couple, I don't know if we have just a moment, but you know, you can put all kinds of fun things in here. You could have put like a big chandelier crystal dangling from the center of that. I have done that before on journals, even on the edge, the spines. These make awesome little tassels, but they're big crystals. You could put a safety pin and put like a little charm dangling through here. I don't know if I have a safety pin in this bowl, but I do have, I'm digging for it, a little bead. You could sew a little bead into the center of your flower up there, or a pearl, or this is some other kind of stone bead, but you can sew beads on instead of threading them on. You could add some kind of like vintage costume jewelry, brooch kind of a thing somewhere on here. You know, not this one doesn't necessarily work, but you know what I'm talking about. And then what else do we have in this little bowl? Just other kinds of little charms. You know, if you put that little safety pin on and put a charm down there, it would be pretty cute. I don't know what else we have in here. We've got ribbon crimps and pin nibs. Pen nibs make awesome little dangles to sew onto. They all have holes in them, and you can sew them. Like if you look at this one's a really pretty one. It's got lots of decoration on it. You can sew them right to the front of your cover and add, you know, little charms. There's a little bird that you could add flying around the little pen nib. So you could do a little dangle like that down there. You could do an antique skeleton key. I only seem to have gigantic ones in this. These are my French castle keys. You could have done some kind of little nameplate-y thing down here at the bottom in the center. You know, we've got all kinds of things in here to play with. Of course, we've got buttons, the mother of pearl buttons. I usually sew them in the centers. If I don't put any kind of bead or pearl, I usually sew or glue them in the centers of my doily bits. So those of you that made it to the end of this video, digging through this bin, this little thing of wonders over here, would be the final little touch to add a little hardware to the front, a little more bling, a little hardware. I think a rusty safety pin or a bronze safety pin with something dangling from it here would be super cute. And putting some buttons in would also be a good idea. If you were doing a different kind of a journal, you could put your little sprockets in the centers of your little doily bits. You know, if you wanted to add a little steampunkiness to this. I don't know what else is in this little magical, wonderful thing, but I'm really loving the chandelier crystals. I know that they're not going to go on this one, but they're so pretty and so fun to play with. And I have a million. I just brought a million home from my mom's estate thing. She had a big bin of them. So, I mean, they're just super cute. Could do a row of chandelier crystals across the bottom, dangling it. I would so love to do it. That's just me altogether. Anyway, I will let you guys go. I will quit digging in this bin, but it is super fun. And I hope that you guys make a little bin like this where it's got treasures in it. So anyway, we made a topper. We didn't glue it on because um, I'm going to glue that on afterwards, and only because I want to make sure I was going to try to peel this off. I don't think I can. So I think it is just going to get glued on just as you guys see it. And this little floppy bit, it's just going to dangle right over the edge just like that. It's so perfect and so beautiful. I love it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video and hanging out with me. I'm going to make 2 more pretty much just like this. They'll be slightly different because I never make exactly the same thing twice. I know this video is an hour long and it will take a year to upload, but who cares? It was worth it. They're very beautiful. And I think you should make one of these for every single journal that you make because it's a perfect way to decorate the front cover. Like, don't get me wrong, this is beautiful. It is. And if you just were to take your little image and glue your little image on with some, you know, you could totally go this route too. You could go simple. You do have all of this lace down the spine, so you could definitely go simple like this and, you know, throw a couple little doily things down here and, you know, do something like that too. You could totally do that. But I think this is wonderful and this is fabulous. So anyway, that's what a journal topper is. A topper just means the decorative front panel of a journal. So if you were confused about topper, that's what it means. It doesn't mean glue bottle topper. It means this topper. All right, guys, I will let you go. Thanks so much for watching and come back again tomorrow for another video. Thanks, guys. Bye.